Hi guys, my name is Rebecca and I'm just making this video to let you guys know how I was able to make a 96% on the HESI entrance exam for nursing school. So in the program that I'm in, I didn't have to take the biology or the chemistry portion, but the tools I used I still do feel were very helpful. So for one, I did use the HESI A2 entrance exam assessment, something like that. You can buy it on Amazon. It's like $40. It was actually very helpful, specifically for the math section. It has all the different conversions that you would need, and you definitely need to memorize them. I just learned by repeating, like writing it down. Flashcards might be better for you, but I was just able to write it down a couple times and then I remembered. So you have to know like the conversions to the metric system. You need to know like fluid ounces to and all these conversions like tablespoons to teaspoons and what all that entails. And a lot of them kind of intertwine, so it might be more helpful, like 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons, and then how many fluid ounces or how many ounces is that. So it's not too difficult, it's just a lot of stuff you have to remember. You also have to know the military time, so that one doesn't require too much memorization. You just know after 12 it's 13 is 1 o'clock, 14 is 2 o'clock, you know, and so on and so forth until you get to 23. You're at 11 p.m. and then generally it'll be 0000 to indicate midnight. There's also a portion on the exam that you're doing kind of like very beginner level algebra, so just kind of finding the value of x. So the HESI book is has very good examples for that. I didn't really use that too much just because I had already taken algebra and everything, so I was pretty fresh in my mind. But you should definitely look it over because there's just a few questions about that. The rest are addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and then you do get a calculator, so you don't necessarily have to know how to do it by hand. If you want to, you can, but you're gonna kind of just waste time when you have the calculator there for you. So that's it about the math portion. For the A&P portion, I felt like that was a little bit more difficult, but after I took the exam I did write down a couple questions, or like not the question itself but the topic that it was that I remembered. So let me see. Oh, like what bone doesn't articulate with any other bone, and that would be the bone that we have right here, the hyoid bone. There's also some questions about muscles. What else? Oh, like you have to know the different type of connections you have on your bones, like a ball and socket joint would be your shoulder. And I know there's questions about like the bones that are inside the ear. You need to be able to recognize what those 3 are. Every living body is made up of, or every living thing is made up of living cells, and then a group of cells that do the same function would be considered tissue. So a lot of those. You also have to know like what kind of secretion is earwax. I know one specific question was asking about the muscles that are on your leg. I forgot the exact question, but just know the different muscles on your leg, like lateralis, medius, stuff like that. Oh, like platelets, those are related to blood clotting. So just stuff like that. You can really just kind of go over your notes if you have them for A&P. It's not very specific, but you need to know like general topics, I would say. Oh yeah, like what else? Oh, like the different regions of your head, like the occipital region. where is that located, or if they say where it's just your head or your skull, or if they say the frontal region is still your head or your skull. They just, I guess, want to make sure that you know basic anatomy. What else? Oh, like something that carries oxygen. Like, what is the thing that carries oxygen throughout your blood? Be hemoglobin. Oh, another one, and this kind of makes sense. So I know there was a question asking about what part of like your brain is involved with hearing. So you have your frontal lobe, you have the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe. So if you think about it, the temporal lobe is, you know, right here on the side, right by your ear. So that would be the correct answer. Let's see. Olfactory means smell. So if you see a question like that, again, it's just like very broad questions about anatomy, which is good. You know, you don't have to study like too intense about like specific things, or like the different nervous systems you have. So your central nervous system would be, you know, with your brain all the way down your spinal cord, that's the central nervous system, and then the peripheral nervous system, so everything else. So very general topics. It doesn't really ask too much about like specific things. I know one of them was like your spinal cord attaches to what, and the medulla oblongata, however you say that. What artery do you have on your neck here? So that's just very important to know, especially in nursing. You do have to, so that would be like the carotid artery. Let's see. Oh, you have to know the different types, like abduction and adduction. So which one moves closer to your body, which one moves away from your body. Away from like the middle would be abduction or adduction. So you can think about that as like add. For adduction, you're adding it to your body, and then AB, abduction, is just going away. What else? I just wrote a lot of stuff down that I had remembered when I took it. Oh, like hormones that you would kind of see in puberty. So that would be for females like estrogen, and then for males testosterone. So that's very important to remember. Let's see. Oh, this one, they also pushed this question so much in A&P, but what is like the regulation for everything in your body, like thermal regulation, just creating balance, and that would be the hypothalamus. Just a lot of, oh, like your back, the different regions that you have. So if you kind of remember when you learn about the spinal cord, you have, you know, the cervical region, thoracic, and then lumbar. So if they asked about the lower back, it would be the lumbar region. You also need to know, and it is also very important when you're in nursing, because you have to learn lab values, but let's see, how did I word that? So like, what ion would cause or lead to cardiac arrest? Be potassium. And when you get into nursing school, you learn the safe ranges, the normal ranges for potassium, and then if they go out of whack, either above or below, that's when you would have to have the patient on cardiac monitoring. Oh, this is a good question. There were some questions about the eye, but very simple. So like, what part of the eye can see color or picks out color, and that's your retina. And that's probably very easy, broad answer there. Let's see. Oh, a hollow organ in your body. I don't know why I remember this. Somebody with a gallbladder. It's just stuck in my head. I don't know why. An organ of Corti. Where is that located? And that would be the ear. What else? You have to kind of, again, it's just very broad, but like the T lymphocytes, where would that be produced? And that would be the thalamus. And then the B lymphocytes are kind of more the bone marrow. You need to know like the dorsal side of you, what is located on there. So like your butt, it's one of the only main things. Everything else is like the back of something. Oh, and also this one here, like melanoma, they also in A&P, they kind of like grind that in your head. That is like you need to know like how do you identify that. It would be the ABC. So like, is it asymmetric? Is the border not even? All that stuff. You need to know like where some hormones are released, and again, they're ones that they push in A&P. So like the ADH and also oxytocin. So where is that released? It would be the posterior lobe. Also another one, and this is like from the very first or second chapter of A&P. The organization of living things. So you're going from cell to tissue to organ system. And again, if you just think about it, like your cells are one cell, right? And every living thing has that. And then a tissue is a group of cells that do the similar thing. So that makes a tissue. And then from tissue you go to organ. So it's the same type of tissue going on, you know, to help make the organ, and then different organs make an organ system, and then from there you just keep going up. So as long as you kind of get that bottom, like that very beginning portion down, the rest is easy, because from organ system you get an organism. You know, multiple organ systems like that we have, then we are considered a human, and it just keeps going like that. Very easy. Let's see, you need to know that ATP, like what is it in ATP is energy, and that's needed for like active transport, to make things go, because it's energy. You need to know osmosis goes from a high to a low concentration, but nothing more in detail. It's just very specific. Nothing very specific. It's just very broad. Like you don't need to know much more than that. You know the different types of joints, like synovial joints, so they're freely moving. So just kind of go over all of that. A fibrous joint, what kind of joint is that? Let's see. And then also another thing that would probably help you would be like endo and exo. So if you see the word endo, it means in. If you see the word exo, it's outside. So just things like that. If you know like the root word of something, it definitely helps you out with kind of knowing. If you see something that's aerobic, that means it requires air, and anaerobic would not require air. I know there was a question, I don't see it written here, but about your sternum. So it has 3 parts, so just kind of being able to identify that. Also knowing the difference from meiosis and mitosis. That is important. Kind of just knowing photosynthesis, like what it does. And then where do your ribs attach, and that would be to your sternum. What else? Oh, knowing the difference between inspiration and expiration. So inspiration, you're breathing in. Expiration, it's going out, exiting. Let's see, what else? There's a lot of stuff I had written here. Another thing that kind of would get me would be the difference between ligaments and tendons. So ligaments would be bone to bone, and tendons are bone to muscle. So just knowing those differences there. Also knowing the 4 steps of bone ossification. I remember, I think that's like 2nd semester of A&P, but that's why they recommend that you take both before, like A&P 1 and 2 before you take the HESI, but it's not necessary if you kind of just go and study. I will say the HESI A2 book was not that helpful for studying for A&P. It was very helpful for pretty much everything else, just not A&P. It was too broad. let's see. Kind of just recognizing the difference between somatic and autonomic nervous, the nervous system. Let's see. Oh, and if you're able to identify what a normal heartbeat is. So if someone's heartbeat is like 150, that would be considered tachycardic, and that is abnormal. Or if it is like 49, maybe 40, that's bradycardic, it's too slow. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff here. Diploid, haploid. So diploid would be 46 chromosomes, haploid would be 23 chromosomes. And diploid happens with mitosis, and then haploid happens with meiosis. And like for us, we have 23 chromosomes, so we undergo meiosis. And then neurons, afferent and efferent. So efferent is going away from the brain, and afferent neurons are going towards your brain. So for example, if you had like a finger prick, the pain, it goes through afferent fibers up to your brain. You know, it has a whole process, but simply put, afferent to your brain and then efferent out to back to your finger to let you know like there's pain right here, like the full stuff going on. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's very broad, which is good, I feel like. But definitely go on Quizlet too. Look up different, just search up like HESI, A2, AMP. And that's what I did for the most part. And I feel like I was pretty well prepared for taking the exam. What's the next part? Oh, so for grammar and vocabulary, a lot from what I found when studying in the book is very helpful. The HESI A2 book for vocabulary has a set of words there. I would say memorize those if you can, or get very familiar with them, so if you see them you have an idea of what they mean. But also go on Quizlet and look up just different vocabulary words, just because the more familiar you are with, you know, different words, like I know I remember seeing ominous on there. Flaccid means limp and stuff like that. Just different words like that. That part is not hard as long as you're prepared. So like if I would have taken the HESI and I didn't study any of the words, I probably wouldn't have done good in that section at all. So that's something to do. Quizlet really was very helpful. Let me see if I have any examples I wrote down. And for grammar, the HESI A2 book was actually very helpful as well. You just have to know the difference, like who and who, or like who, who's, whom. Like when would you use those words, or when would you use the words like there's so many. Like just if you look at that book, there are so many examples of different like words that you would think, like would you say whose book is this, or who apostrophe s book is this, which would be who is book is this, and that doesn't make sense, or whom's book is this, and that doesn't make sense either, to be whose book is this. And also pay attention to the different types of like clauses that they have. I really had to go over that because I haven't done anything with grammar for a long time, so I really had to go over those. Very helpful. Also go on Quizlet, look up different just HESI A2 grammar, and you'll get many examples. Do the same thing for vocabulary. And for the vocabulary portion, I definitely would, on my iPad or my phone, I would just do like the flashcards and like the different like tests that you can do. Some of them are like matching and filling in the blank, or choosing like A through D, what's the correct choice. And that actually really did help me to prepare for that portion. And then for critical thinking, there's no study portion of that for the HESI on the HESI A2 book. So my main material for studying was through Quizlet. And when I did that, I mean, it was like, when you look at the questions, it seems like, oh yeah, that's right. But you know, when you're in a testing format, it's not that easy. You kind of get a little bit of anxiety, and it kind of throws you off. So just seeing those questions beforehand, I will say a lot of the questions that I saw for the critical thinking on Quizlet were very similar or identical to what I saw on the HESI. So if you're gonna have a critical thinking portion, I definitely recommend that you guys go look at Quizlet. I think those were the only sections that we had to take, because it was math, we had A&P, critical thinking, vocabulary, and grammar. So like I said, the HESI book that I'm talking about, really, it was very helpful for math. I think that's the most helpful. The second most helpful would be for grammar. You do need to get very familiar with the different types of clauses, the different words that you could possibly choose from. The third one would be for vocabulary, and I really don't think it was very helpful for the A&P. It gets you like even broader overview than what you need to know, but what you see there, you need to go like a step deeper, and that will be where you probably go to Quizlet, and then they have the information that you need. Quizlet also had some questions on there that were very similar to what I saw on the HESI, so there's that as well. But yeah, it's not that bad. You get 5 hours. I think I finished in maybe 2.5. It wasn't that bad, so don't stress about it, and definitely don't like overdo it with the studying the night before you take it, because you're just gonna have your brain scrambling everywhere. It's just better to study ahead of time, the day, and even like a couple days before, you know, refresh your mind. 2 days before the exam, you can refresh your mind again, but the day before, honestly, I feel like you should just give yourself a break, relax, just to get yourself in the right mood when it's time to take your HESI. I would recommend getting there maybe like an hour, 30 minutes earlier, just so you can sit in your car if you feel anxious or anything, and you'll be able to kind of relax yourself, and then you can go ahead and go in and then proceed to taking the test. I promise, just study the HESI A2 book, do the Quizlets, look them up, practice them as much as you can, and you will pass. It's not too difficult. But again, I also didn't take the biology and chemistry portion, so I don't know how those are, but I will say for my program, it was very, very easy, and it's getting more competitive, so definitely try to get the best score that you can. And I know the parts where you can for sure get the like 100%, or maybe like 96, 94 in that section would be math and critical thinking. So that would definitely boost you with your score. And then in my program, the A&P portion was heavily weighed. So like if you were tied with someone else with the same score, then they will go back and look at the individual scores that you had on the HESI. And if, for example, on A&P you got a 96, versus the other person on A&P, they got an 86, well then you're getting in because you had the highest A&P score, even though overall you both had the same exact score, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is it. I really do hope that helps you guys. I know when I was taking the HESI, I wanted something or to find out what would be really helpful for me, and I really didn't find that. So I really do hope this helps you guys, and if y'all are interested, I can definitely make another video, because I am approaching the end of my second semester for nursing, so we will be beginning the third semester soon, in like a month or two. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. And if you did like the video or anything, you can give it a like or not. I mean, I can't force you guys to do anything. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, and then I'll definitely go ahead and answer those for you. Thanks.